this meeting. Go before us, O Lord, in all our doings with your most gracious favour, and further us with your continual help, so that in all our works, begun, continued, and ended in you, we may glorify your name and bring about your kingdom here on earth. Amen.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And please feel free to say or go. I know you're probably busy getting ready for Christmas. Thank you.
Empty as it is.
No, we're quite happy to release you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Right, can I remind people that this gets recorded, so if anyone doesn't want to be on YouTube, you're welcome to leave, so we'll be aware of that. We have got quite a busy meeting this evening, so with everyone's permission, I'm going to rearrange the agenda somewhat. Can I start by thanking Councillor Kelly, the Deputy Mayor, for filling in for me at the last meeting. I had a COVID injection the day before the meeting in the morning, and then on the Tuesday I was so ill, so much for these injections. And I've had a cold just recently, so I'm not sure if my flu injection worked either. But thank you to Councillor Kelly for filling in for me. So very kind of him. I've had a busy couple of months. I've been to lots of different events. We had the Remembrance Sunday on the Green, and that was very well attended and very interesting. And I was also invited to Markham Rural for their remembrance on the Monday. I hadn't realised till then that they actually have a public holiday on Remembrance Day. That was quite an interesting ceremony. I knew that they have a division between church and state, so we had a long mass beforehand, and then we went out in the cold, and that was a really interesting ceremony. I was pleased to be there, and they had people from the other European countries. They played all the national anthems. You'll be pleased to know. I did stand up for the French one and the English one, but no, it was a very interesting event. I've been to all sorts of things. I've met all sorts of different people, the new consul for Algeria, and Sam Bailey told me today that I was on their website, the Mayor's Parlour, and there's a picture of the King behind us both. That was quite interesting. I met all sorts of nice and lovely people. On Diwali, I went to events in Southall and in the House of Commons. And anywhere I go in Southall, there's been an excellent turnout of Southall councillors. We had a real women's fest last week on the Green Corner with Councillor Miller, Councillor Nan, Councillor Mahmood, and Councillor Cindy. So they were all there, so it's all women, and it's a very good, lovely occasion. I also have been learning things during this year. I hadn't realised that the man who wrote the Constitution for India was so ahead of his time, into women's equality and so on. So when I actually give up, I'm going to read the biography of a really learned and interesting man who was so pro the fact that the untouchables weren't treated properly, that he made sure that the Constitution would be fair in the future, and that was an interesting thing to find out. The next couple of weeks I'm going to be busy at care homes, and any of you who see on the Mayor's visits that there's a care home in your area, please feel free to turn up if you want to come along as well. Now, before I finish the announcements, on Friday night I've got the event at Our Lady of Lourdes Church Hall, which is being organised by the two charities. And it would be very nice if some more of you could come along, because they've been planning this event for 3 months. They put a lot of effort into it. And I know it's perhaps not the best night, because people are going to work dues and all sorts of things. But if some more of you could sign up and come, it would be very much appreciated. But just before we start today's business, can I say that going around the borough, I realise what a marvellous borough we have. So many people volunteer and help children, the elderly, animals, all sorts of things. They give up their time, they go and help the environment, the Ealing Wildlife Group, they coach children, so much that we can be proud of, which I don't think perhaps we make enough fuss of. So we can be really proud of the borough we live in and all the good things that people do. Because of the busy night ahead, we're going to now take items 12 to 16 first. Oh, apologies. Yes, Sorry, I should say, I haven't actually said, any apologies for absence, Mr. Bailey?
I haven't received any directly, but I understand Councillor Backer is joining us virtually.
Thank you.
Councillor Casey Mohan sent his.
Yes, thank you. So Councillor Casey Mohan, thank you. Any declarations of interest?
Sorry, Madam Mayor, can I give Councillor Kate Crawford's apologies for lateness?
Thank you.
Sorry.
And as I wasn't here last time, can I welcome the 3 new councillors? One of them's been to one of my events and he bought a bottle of gin at an auction, so I hope he's enjoyed it, or maybe he's come to another one and buy something at an auction. But thank you for that. Welcome to all 3 of you, and I hope you enjoy it. I've been doing it for 38 years, and Councillor Young and Councillor Deere have been doing it for the same sort of time or even longer, and so we're all still here, so it can be an enjoyable occasion. Can we agree the minutes of the 15th of October?
Agreed.
Yes, yes, Councillor Packer.
Madam Mayor, I have a question on sorry, correction on the attendance. I was in India on 15th of October. I sent my apologies, but our guests attended it closely.
No, we'll make sure they're added. And my own for illness and my thanks to Anthony. Councillor Moffat.
Just on attendance as well, I think Councillor Oxley, Councillor Dodo, and myself were present but not recorded as being present in the minutes.
Yes, can we have them added on? Thank you very much. Thank you for that. Now, I think I've got everything right there. So we're going to take one more, sorry, go ahead.
A declaration of interest, because I will be speaking on this evening's set, and I'm living in the road.
Okay.
It's restricted, but I guess it's a good interest.
We'll make sure that's recorded, thank you. So we're going to take items 12 to 16 first, because we want to make sure that these get recorded and they need to be voted on. So item 12 is contract procedure rules. Somebody, councillor, to move it?
Yeah. Moved.
Thank you. Anyone seconding that? Thank you. Moved and seconded. Can we agree those? Agreed. Thank you very much. Right, item 13, terms of reference of committees. Councillor to move?
Moved, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Seconded?
Secondly, Madam.
Thank you. Thank you. Are we agreeing those?
Agreed.
Yes, thank you very much. Item 14, review of political balance. To move? Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Seconded?
Secondly, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And can we agree those? Agreed. Thank you. Appointments to committees?
Moved, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Seconded?
Secondly.
Thank you. Can we agree that?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Right, Treasury Management, item 16, can we move that?
Moved, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Seconded? Thank you. Can we agree that? Thank you very much. Well, we've done all of those items. I'll make sure I get this right. I've put numbers on these things, so I do get it right. So we're now on to the petitions, I believe. Item 5, let's have a look. We go back. On to item 5. Sorry, make sure I've got the right piece of paper so I don't make any mistakes. Yes, petitions from members of the public. We have the one from the Palestinian Solidarity of West London. They have 5 minutes, and I believe 2 people are going to speak, and then we'll have responses. Are they here? Yes, if you want to come up.
Good evening. Madam Mayor, members of the Council, we thank you and Democratic Services for facilitating this petition from the residents, workers, and students of Ealing Borough. My name is Mohammed Abu Salah. I'm a Palestinian And I'm joined today by a lovely young lady from Gaza, Palestine, 13-year-old Lilia. We are both residents of Ealing, and we are making this statement on behalf of the petition signatories and the groups who have endorsed it, including the Palestinian Solidarity Campaign, Ealing Friends of Palestine, Stop the War West London, and Ealing Trade Unions Council, as well as the Palestinian people. For over a year now, the world has witnessed a daily, systematic killing of the civilian population of Gaza by the state of Israel. As the nations of the world, including our country, have failed to intervene. As our representatives, we ask you today that you do not fail to intervene, that you do what is within your gift, and that you fulfill your sense of duty and humanity and compassion. Indeed, we have seen you do this before. Most recently have been your handling of the crisis facing the people of Ukraine. In your letter dated 8th of March 2022, sent to the Home Secretary on behalf of the Council by Peter Mason and Aisha Riza, you emphasized the effects of the horror of the military assault on Ukraine, the need to intervene, to sanction the perpetrators, and provide safe passage for civilian refugees. The Palestinian people now share a worse plight. And today, we ask you to extend the same act to the people of Gaza and fulfill your moral and legal duty. Yes, we know this is a legal duty because of the judgments issued by the International Court of Justice under the Genocide Convention in January, March, and May 2024, which provides the legal framework for states and their representatives to act in order to prevent crimes against humanity. As we know, Israel has committed these crimes. The evidence is overwhelming, and now includes the International Criminal Court arrest warrants issued for the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, and the former Israeli Defense Minister, Yoav Gallant, on the 21st of November, 2024. But just as importantly, you have seen this evidence for yourselves, as endless, horrific attacks on Gaza and its people appear daily on our television screens. More than 44,000 people killed. More than 44,000 people killed, including more than 11,000 women and more than 17,000 children. 3,500 of those children killed are under the age of 6. Under the age of 6. One for every signature that we have submitted to you today. It's imperative, therefore, that you support our petition, calling for an immediate and permanent ceasefire, a suspension of arms trade with Israel, and most importantly, a divestment from companies that contribute towards their war crimes. Councils such as Islington and Waltham Forest have already done this, and over 330 UK councillors have signed a letter calling for a permanent ceasefire. Ealing Council must do this now.
Thank you, and I believe, sorry, thank you. The young lady, I think, was...
Yes. Well, just one last statement, if I may, please. Each member here must carefully consider the risk of being complicit with the perpetrators if you do not act.
Thank you.
We are the people of history, are watching you, and we will not forget what you do next. Please listen to the story from Ilya from Gaza. Go ahead.
In my hand is a leaflet dropped from Israeli planes on Gaza, ordering people to move immediately or they'll be bombed. I have more than 30 family members in Gaza. 20 of my cousins are children like me. They have faced this terror many times now. Each time they moved to seek shelter, the area they moved is bombed. Now they live in tents and are trapped with nowhere safe to go. They have hardly any food, no running water, no winter clothes, and their schools are destroyed. They have wounds and skin diseases and no hospitals to get treatment. Why would you not help them like you help the people of Ukraine? You say you believe in equality, fairness, and upholding international law. Why would you not do that now? So please, do the right thing as you did for Ukraine and support our petition. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for keeping to time. That's very good of you. Thank you. And now can I call on Councillor Hassini to reply?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you to Mohammed and Leila for presenting the petition today. The ongoing crisis in Israel and Gaza has deeply affected communities both here and abroad. We have heard the strong sentiments from Ealing's diverse communities, many of whom, like yourself, have personal and cultural ties to the region. This administration stands in support of our government's calls for an immediate ceasefire, the safe release of hostages and the respect for international law. On a local level, our commitment to supporting all residents seeking safety and sanctuary in Ealing remains steadfast, regardless of their background or country or origin. The Council currently provides a range of resources for all sanctuary seekers, from information on education, childcare and financial support to housing, and all of this can be found online on our website. This strategy has been developed, additionally we work closely with local volunteer sector organisations who play a vital role in ensuring Ealing remains a safe and welcoming place for all. In our forthcoming sanctuary strategy, which I oversee, we set out to achieve over 40 goals within the next 3 years to enhance the support we provide to sanctuary seekers, no matter where they come from. The strategy has been developed in partnership with sanctuary seeking residents and our voluntary and community aid sector, who have been supporting our residents for decades and to whom we are grateful. And we will continue to work with the government when necessary to support all refugees who are coming to the UK and to Ealing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Donnelly?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We work with our fund managers to understand the pension fund's investment in companies the kind referred to in paragraph 4 of the petition, and confirm we have no such direct investments. We do have limited exposure in those sectors within some of our pooled investment funds, which are managed by various fund managers. These managers continue to monitor the nature of activities of those companies. However, withdrawal from those pooled funds will incur significant transaction costs. While the Council as an administrative authority can, in principle, have regard to wider considerations in investment decisions, these considerations must not run the risk of material detriment to the fund. Our overriding fiduciary responsibility is to the current and future pensioners whose livelihoods in retirement depend on us. And just in passing, I think reference was made to Islington. Islington has stopped proceedings to divest in the way that was suggested in the moving speech. That information as recent as yesterday for exactly the reasons that I'm outlining. Any immediate significant divestment would be a detriment to the fund due to the transaction costs we would incur and the impact of timing in the market, and therefore any immediate divestment of these funds cannot be justified at this time.
Thank you. Councillor Ball?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ever since October the 7th, 2023, when Hamas attacked Israel, killing nearly 1,200 Israelis and taking 250 hostages, news of death and devastation from Gaza continues daily, with over 40,000 Palestinians killed and over 1.7 million displaced, while Hamas have still not released the Israeli hostages. Hamas are not the only extremists in this conflict. The actions of Netanyahu's government have had a devastating impact on Palestinian civilians, with women and children paying a particularly terrible price. We welcome this petition. Its key point that there is an inconsistency between the handling of Ukrainian refugees and those from Gaza is well made. We join with calls to central government to remedy this and for the Council to provide all possible assistance in the absence of a scheme at national level like that for Ukrainian refugees. Now that the International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants for those it believes are culpable, the UK has obligations under international law which we must uphold. The previous Conservative government chose to be selective for those obligations when it came to the ICC's jurisdiction in the occupied Palestinian territories. Recognition of the state of Palestine is well overdue. The new government is rightly committed to uphold the ICC ruling. The government must take immediate new steps to secure an immediate bilateral ceasefire with all parties. We're concerned that the arms export ban announced by the Foreign Secretary was solely in respect of the risk of use in Gaza and not the West Bank. We believe, as do many independent organisations, including Oxfam, that it should be more comprehensive. The Liberal Democrats welcome the government's sanctions on settlers in the occupied territories in the West Bank. Those illegally settling in the region are actively undermining the prospect of a two-state solution and a lasting peace. This move is a step in the right direction, but we were lagging behind our allies and we must go further. Specific far-right Israeli ministers, Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, should be sanctioned. They explicitly advocate the starvation of Palestinians and they want to annex the West Bank. Smotrich said yesterday that Israel should take advantage of the fall of Assad to occupy and settle the Gaza Strip. It's crucial that we act against the leaders of the extremist secular community and stand up for international law. The petition also calls for divestment from arms companies that are supplying Israel with weapons used to attack Palestinians. We agree that the pension fund panel should look more closely into this, noting that a number of other fund members have moved in that direction. So, Madam Mayor, we recognise the suffering on all sides and also the suffering of residents of our borough who are connected to the area by family, religious bonds, or because they see a human tragedy unfolding. Here in London, there's been an awful increase in anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. The Council should lobby the UK government to do everything that it can to stop the violence, to secure an immediate bilateral ceasefire, to put an end to the humanitarian devastation in Gaza, ensure the hostages are brought home, and open the door to a two-state solution. Thank you.
Councillor Kumar?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you to all those who have written to us, and thank you to Abu Saleh and Lilia Al-Babasi for presenting this petition tonight. A collective voice is always powerful, and by you presenting this petition will help promote the message for peace and justice for Palestinians suffering in the Gaza Strip. It's a step forward towards positive change and showing our community cares about the welfare of those suffering. Destruction of thousands of homes, families, and loss of lives is tragic. Action on humanitarian protection and aid for basic needs such as food, medical supplies, and water will help alleviate the suffering of so many civilians. Every person deserves a free life, free from fear and violence, and the need to protect and ensure safety of all civilians is even greater. Local actions, such as the petition presented tonight, can contribute to change globally. Ongoing negotiations will hopefully achieve a positive outcome and a ceasefire. It's heartbreaking to see children die and families traumatized. Through building a better and brighter future will require development and education projects. And as the saying goes, investing in education is investing in peace. To the petitioners, I say your powerful sentiments are understood. I share your support and dedication and your efforts in raising awareness, calling for peace initiatives, human rights protection, and humanitarian aid are truly inspiring. Your petition has also helped to shine a light on these critical issues. We in Ealing will continue to raise awareness and push for meaningful action, and by no means consider this as a one-time only effort. Together, we can make a difference, and together we will strive for a united, better and peaceful world.
Thank you.
Can I now call on Councillor Hassini to sum up?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I just want to thank everyone who took the time to sign the petition and the youths that are coming forward to present the petition tonight. And I thank everyone for their measured contribution to this debate. I think it speaks to the seriousness of the matter. We recognise that nobody chooses to become a refugee. And as part of our ongoing work, as I said, the Borough Sanctuary, we hope to embed an environment of welcome for our newer citizens so that they can rebuild their lives and thrive. But in the meantime, we continue to provide support to sanctuary seekers, no matter where they come from, and we'll continue to do that always. So thank you, and I think the petition will be noted by the council on this occasion, and a written response will be provided by Democratic Services, outlining some of the key points made during the debate tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone, and thank you for coming along. I know this is a serious issue, and thank you for coming. Thank you. Thank you. I don't believe we've got any petitions from members of the public, but we've got questions from members of the public. I believe we have Angela Gonzo, who's going to ask a question. If you'd like to come up here. When you're ready, if you want to ask your question.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, councillors and council officers. My name is Angela Bonzo, and my question is for Councillor Sheeny. When will Ealing Council repair the damaged multi-use games areas, also known as Moogers, and cricket wickets at Southall Recreation Ground to ensure the health and safety of all those who use those facilities?
Councillor Hassini.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Angela, for coming tonight and for your question. I know what an active member of the community you are, and what of course you are in the area, and I know how important sports provision is to communities across the borough and of course in Southall. We're committed to making Southall Recreation Ground as safe and accessible as possible. Ensuring the health and safety of our residents is of the utmost importance, and we recognise also the need for the multi-use games area to be repaired. Funding has been secured to replace the cricket wickets, and a contractor has been appointed, and I'm pleased to say that actually works have been brought forward and they should be starting by the end of this week, weather permitting. So hopefully that's some good news. Discussions are taking place with sports bodies and organisations to explore funding for the Moogers, because as much as we'd like to do that, the financial constraints mean that we're not in a position to commit to that today. We're working tirelessly to hopefully find funding, but if we've already applied for some funding, and if that application is successful, we expect work to start being carried out in the summer of 2025.
Do you have a supplementary question?
It's very reassuring to hear what you said about the cricket wickets. I think it's also a matter of urgency to repair the Moogers which tend to be used by young children. And I have encountered young children who've fallen down and grazed their knees and elbows. So I would urge that the funding is found, and preferably to repair the Moogers before the summer, certainly before the school summer holidays start.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now I think we have Christina, who's got a question for Councillor Driscoll. She wants to make her way up to the front.
Good evening, everyone. Paul, the proposed CPZ in Greenford are unfair, will cause hardship for residents and businesses and are not needed. There is significant opposition to the proposal in the local community. Would the council reconsider the CPZ proposal, listen to us, the community, and focus on resolving the real issues of congestion, such as the council depot?
Thank you, Christina. I appreciate your time coming in and all the work you've done in your local area. CPZs prioritise parking for local residents, making it easier for people to park near their homes, particularly benefiting older residents, those with mobility challenges, and their carers. This ensures that spaces are not dominated by non-resident vehicles such as commuters or long-stay parkers, which often reduces parking availability for most need. CPZs reduce indiscriminate and obstructed parking, improving visibility at junctions and ensuring clear access to emergency and utility vehicles. This contributes to safer streets for pedestrians, particularly those who are more vulnerable, and such as older adults and individuals using mobility aids. The current CPZ consultations are part of an engagement exercise to gather feedback from residents and businesses on parking pressures and potential changes to parking management in their areas. The process aligns with EU Council's commitment to transparency and inclusiveness, as outlined in the EU Travel Charter, which emphasises empowering communities to have a voice in shaping the local transport and parking policies. The current engagement exercise provides an initial opportunity to collect views. The feedback received during this stage will be carefully reviewed to identify key themes and areas for further engagement may that be needed. It's also worth noting that this engagement stage helps inform the statutory consultation process, where residents will again have opportunity to provide input and consider detailed proposals. This two-stage approach ensures that all views are considered before any decision is made. I'm glad you raised the theme of congestion. We know that 11% of car journeys starting in Ealing are just for a distance of 1 kilometre or less. Short journeys comprise a significant proportion of traffic in the borough. Some of these journeys will be necessary due to age or disability or other reasons. It's likely that many shorter journeys could be undertaken by walking or cycling or otherwise avoided. The council is undertaking huge steps to encourage active travel by road improvement schemes that address cycling and pedestrian safety, participatory projects like Let's Ride Southall and popular school streets. So we've got a huge range of activities going on, and your views will be taken really carefully.
I put it to you, Paul, that it's a foregone conclusion, we've heard it straight from the horse's mouth, that we are going to have a CPZ, and that's because of your development plan. So we started this meeting with prayer, and we expect honesty for this question. Without the introduction of CPZ, what would happen to your development plan for Greenford?
Turn off your mic because it echoes for the moment. Thank you. No, if you turn it off.
So it's a consultation. We will receive feedback, we will receive comments, and then we will, if we go forward, we'll use that to develop the idea for the statutory consultation, as I said. And this is a proposal that will look at a proposal for CPZ in the area. It's not linked to any other developments, any other proposals. It's purely about the CPZ for the area, and we will take on board all the contributions that are made.
Thank you.
So I've heard it right, it's not...
No, you had your time, thank you. I'm sure you'll have an opportunity to send in emails, etc. Thank you.
Okay.
The next question, the final one, is from Minnie Dogra to Councillor Driscoll as well. And before we start, can we, I can tell you that it's quite true about consultations. It's all done properly and above board, so please don't accuse people of lying, etc. in the chamber. Minnie?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the Council. Will the Council treat the CPZ consultations as a preliminary public engagement exercise, and in the spirit of your voice, your town, immediately arrange local meetings, workshops for residents to consider forms or options of parking restrictions which they consider more suitable for their own streets.
Many thank you for your question about engagement. The current CPZ consultations are part of an engagement exercise to gather feedback from residents and businesses on parking pressures and potential changes to parking management in the areas. This process aligns with Ely Council's commitment to transparency and inclusivity, as outlined in the Ely Travel Charter, which emphasises empowering communities to have a voice and shaping local transport and parking policies. I and ward councillors attended a meeting at Christ the Redeemer on 26th of November. I would like to thank the residents and councillors who organised the meeting for those who attended the meeting. And the other councillors that attended to ensure that we were available for the meeting and listened and answered questions. The current engagement exercise provides an initial opportunity to collect views. The feedback received during the stage will be carefully reviewed to identify key themes, areas for further engagement may be needed as well. If the consultation reveals significant demand for alternative approaches or additional dialogue, the council will consider arranging further engagement activities such as workshops to ensure that the communities are thoroughly explored. It's also worth noting that this engagement stage helps to inform the statutory consultation process, where residents will again have the opportunity to provide input and consider detailed proposals. This two-stage approach ensures that all views are considered before any decisions are made. We appreciate the residents' active involvement in the process and encourage everyone to share feedback through the consultation channels that are available. This input will play an important role in shaping parking policies and reflect the needs of Ely's diverse communities.
If you've got a supplementary question, go ahead.
During the past 2 years, we've had consultations in relation to the local plan, which has been Regulation 18 and Regulation 19. We've also had, just in this past summer in May, we had the so-called our town forum meetings, and there were 7 of them around the town, and there is this thing called Our Voice, Our Town, where people's views were invited. I attended those meetings and also throughout the local plan consultations. I saw nothing presented by the council during that time in relation to the CPZ proposals which are being rolled out right across the borough, either in form of extensions or 2 brand new CPZs. Why did the council not think it appropriate at any time to present these kind of proposals which were in the making and preparation of it for so many months, and cost thousands of pounds along the way, looking at all the plans and all the preparations? This was not something that just happened in the last 2 months. It happened during the past 1 year at least.
Before Councillor Driscoll answers, to be fair, he wasn't in post when some of this you were talking about, so let's be fair to him. Councillor Driscoll.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Minnie. The proposals come forward, as you said, are thought out and developed, so they don't come ad hoc. So they need preparation, and so they come forward when they're ready to be presented. And as you mentioned, a whole host of consultations. The local plan was a huge consultation which took many, I would say, years to develop. So all these consultations come forward at the right time when they're fully developed and available. And when they're fully formed as a consultation. So that's why they're not put out in advance before the consultation is ready. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the work prepared. So there's a lot of work that goes into the preparation of these. So that's the reason why they're put out at the date they went out.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Would you mind turning off the mic? Thank you. This now brings us on to questions to members of the council. We have 30 minutes for this. If we don't finish all the questions in time, we'll have written answers. The first question is from Councillor C to Councillor Newston.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Please can the portfolio holder confirm that they have no plans to close the Michael Farmer Centre, the Cowgate Centre, the Solar Centre, or any of the children's centres? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Steve, for your question, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share details of a really exciting project that's underway in my portfolio, which is adult social care and public health. It has long been an ambition to offer a far wider range of adult day services than we currently do. Our current offer is focused on 2 sites, Michael Flanders for older residents with dementia, in Acton, and Cowgate for adults with learning disabilities called riots. These are both very much in the traditional model of day services and do not offer particularly culturally appropriate, flexible, community-based range of activities. Additionally, these sites involve significant travel for many residents, up to 2 hours each way from many of our residents. The day centres can be inflexible, and currently we have nothing to offer in the evenings or in the weekends. So the council is running a project to understand the opportunity of commissioning and delivering more engaging and more ambitious day services for existing and future residents. We want to give residents far greater choice around day activities, and for those services to be much more community-based and to be in a wider range of locations. The project will explore all of the options available for us within our own buildings, including both Michael Flanders and Cowgate, within the community and within the voluntary sector in Ely. There are no preconceptions about what this might look like, and rather it is about finding meaningful alternatives to residents that bakes in control and choice and allows people to be in and to participate in communities, not to be hidden away doing group activities because it is easier to manage. All of our residents deserve to be accorded the respect and choice that most of us take for granted. Importantly, we will not be reducing the offering to residents, rather making it broader and more engaging. Officers have already kicked off the project with extensive consultations with service users, carers and staff. And we're getting really good information already on what people would like to be doing with their time. We're currently in the consulting engagement phase, and I look forward to sharing the findings and recommendations for the project in a cabinet report in 2026. On the children's centre side of things, we've got a really great children's offer in Ely. We know that we're missing families that we could and we must support sooner. And sadly, we often see them show up later in the social care system, often with much, much more complex issues. We've been thinking a lot about how we do better at finding and supporting these families sooner, and to do more to develop solutions with communities who might have previously been underserved. How we achieve that ambition is a conversation Councillor Blackett, who can't be with us tonight, will start in the new year with our families, and this will be collaborative. There will be a community and partnership-based approach to make sure that all families get the support they deserve. And as I'm sure the opposition member knows, the Solace Centre is run by the West London NHS Trust, not Ely Council. So it would be remiss of me to comment on anything they have now or in the future.
Thank you. Is there a supplementary question from the Liberals?
From the Liberal Democrats, there is no here.
Sorry.
Thank you to the portfolio holder. Many of the words that, many of the comforting words that she utters, we would obviously agree with entirely. However, I know that she doesn't actually say that the Michael Flanders Centre or the Cowgate Centre is safe. She declines to give a firm commitment to the fact that they're reopening. We look forward to the paper where it comes in 26, I think she said. Oh, okay, I think you said 26. We look forward to even more than in 25. And we will keep a close eye on what happens to benefit people who use these two valuable centres. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really happy to expand, perhaps not now, but that conversation with you as our key opposition. And I think we need to be very, very cautious about focusing on buildings rather than what people do with their time. It's a pretty outmoded approach to supporting people, and I think we need to be looking at much more contemporary ways of engaging people. I mean, I'm sure if one of my children were looking at 30 years in a day centre, I might have greater ambitions for them. And I think it's really, really important to remember that there will always be scope for day centres, but the emphasis and focus on buildings, when actually when we talk to people about what they'd like to do, they'd like to be doing exactly the same things that the rest of us would like to be doing for our time. Going to the shops, going swimming, going to leisure centres, spending time with their friends. So while I completely take on board that we will inevitably need a really broad range of services that meet complex and perhaps less complex needs, it really is an important and kind of ethical issue really about how we treat those people, those vulnerabilities. And I would, yeah, as I said, very much welcome further discussion with you, because I think it is an issue that we should expect to have cross-party support on. Thank you.
Thank you. The second question is from Councillor Raywall to Councillor Manro.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It gives me great pleasure to ask this question. Could the portfolio holder tell us about the outstanding performance of the council's planning department this year?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Wall. I'm proud to say that here in Ealing, we won one of the best planning services in the UK. We were recently recognised by Planning Magazine as one of the 12 best planning authorities in the country, being awarded with a platinum status. To deliver the homes that we need, a planning service that makes the right decisions in a timely manner is essential. Despite the high volume of decisions to make, we rank as the top borough in London for on-time determinations on both major applications and in the top 3 for non-major applications, offering a speedy service regardless of the size of the development. As well as this, we perform well in terms of appeals, with the lowest percentage of major applications overturned at appeal in London, showing that not only are we making the right decisions about development quickly, but we're getting them right. We're also an outstanding at securing affordable housing for our residents. Last year, we secured over 39% affordable housing across the boroughs, ensuring that genuinely affordable homes are available in our borough so our residents can afford to call Ealing their home. Ensuring that our planning service is pragmatic, collaborative and strategic has been key to this success, and I have to thank all the hard-working officers for their efforts in helping to encourage and enable development and inward investment, proving that Ealing is a borough that is open and attractive for business and development. Thank you.
Is there a supplementary question from the Labour side? Councillor Anand.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Does the portfolio holder share my excitement about the new Labour government's emerging reforms to get Britain building the homes it needs? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Anand. And I do share in your excitement about the government's plans for reforms to the planning system and the ambition to build 1.5 million homes over the course of the next 5 years. The government is showing their commitment to delivering new affordable homes to people in the UK with the biggest annual affordable housing budget in over a decade. With new funding to increase the affordable homes budget to over £3 billion, that will enable us to deliver 5,000 more homes. This Labour government is showing a greater commitment to affordable housing in just 5 short months than the last Tory government did in 14 long years. Proposed reforms for fast-tracking brownfield and great sites to help open up land for much needed housing and supporting infrastructure will provide a huge opportunity for development across London and the country as a whole. We've already seen the Deputy PM progress 3 large housing development sites in Cambridgeshire, West Sussex and Durham, leading the way for thousands of new homes, and I look forward to seeing that trend continue here in London. To deliver on the ambitious target of 1.5 million homes, partnership between the public and private sector is going to be essential. To help the public sector, almost 50 million in new funding, boosting capacity in local planning authorities, giving local councils like Ealing the vital support we need to help in the delivery of thousands of homes over the next 4.5 years. And to help the private sector, 3 billion of support, small and medium-sized builders, and the build-to-rent sector in delivery of affordable homes. We saw today that the Housing Minister called for further density to meet housing targets, and I have to say it's a breath of fresh air to finally have a government committed to delivering affordable homes for our borough and for our country. And in the interest of working families, and for one, I am very optimistic about the future of this country. Thank you.
Thank you. Good. Next question is number 3 from Councillor Conti to Councillor Driscoll.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Why does the current consultation for the introduction of CPZs in Greenford South and Greenford Town Centre not allow residents a simple yes/no answer on whether they want these CPZs introduced. CPZ consultations in West Twyford in 2022, Parkmore and Breadside in 2023 all contained these questions.
Thank you, Councillor Conti. The decision to use a free text response instead of a yes/no checkbox response was made to encourage more detailed feedback during the informal consultation stage. We believe this approach will provide richer and more meaningful insights into the reasons behind residents' views, including preferences for retaining status quo. All comments saying yes or no or other details will be carefully considered during the analysis and given equal weight alongside other responses. Having the yes/no question also reduces the number of free text responses and so limits the amount of detailed data collected. People are more likely to provide detail if given the free text response options. EME is open, inclusive and transparent, and we recognise the importance of this particular in consultations, and we will review responses very thoroughly to ensure a balanced and fair analysis. The responses we receive along with your feedback and Board Council's feedback will also help refine the statutory consultation process, ensuring all options are presented clearly and fairly. Residents' input is invaluable and we appreciate the time residents have given to share their thoughts. Rest assured that all feedback will be carefully considered. Thank you.
So a supplementary question from the Conservative Party, and you want me to call them some old name?
That's fine. Councillor, you mentioned transparency a lot this evening. So why was the party pressure survey not published in full as part of the consultation so residents could make an informed choice when they were filling out the survey?
So the party pressure details were put onto the Bruford leaflets. Happy to provide those. Generally, they are put in the leaflets that go out. Happy to provide them, that's not a problem. And there is significant pressure in the Greenford area, such that we have some residents doing their own petition to ask for a CPZ in the area, which should be recognised as well and shouldn't be ignored. And exactly because they have explicitly said there's substantial parking pressure in the area. Happy to provide that, it's not a problem if you need it.
Thank you. The next question is from Councillor Padder to Councillor Brett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For your holder, update us about how the council is protecting its renters in the private sector.
Thank you, Councillor, for your question. Protecting the thousands of residents in our borough who rely on the private sector for a roof over their head is a key priority for the council. Making sure the vast majority of landlords who are compliant remain so, and the minority of rogue landlords who exploit the system and their tenants are dealt with effectively is essential to ensuring the private renters in our borough have a high standard of living for them and their families. To help us protect our residents and local communities, we have one of the largest property licensing schemes in London. Every single HMO in our borough must have a licence, and we have now implemented an immediate Article 4 direction for new HMOs in Perivale, putting further measures in place to protect residents from poor quality accommodation. In fact, I was out with the team a couple of weeks ago to see firsthand some of the important work that they do and that the council does to ensure that landlords provide safe homes for their tenants. We're also working with our partners to help educate our residents further on their rights, such as Cambridge House, who are carrying out their safe renting scheme, tackling exploitation and abuse in the private rental sector by supporting renters, educating them on their rights and assisting with disputes, particularly those who don't have English as first language. We're also working alongside Citizens UK as we continue our work towards establishing a private renters association, and we will give our renters in the borough a collective voice with the aim of further improving renters' knowledge and awareness of their rights to empower them to take on rogue landlords.
Thank you. I think there's a supplementary in the back.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, for your holders, share my optimism about the new Labour government's plans to improve the rights of renters.
Thank you, Councillor. We have seen in just a few short months a government finally ready to take on the rights of renters, particularly in the private rented sector. Over 11 million people in the UK rent their homes in the private sector. The Labour government's proposal will help protect the thousands of private renters in the Borough of Ealing. After 14 years of Tory inaction to help those in the private sector, these reforms are desperately needed to protect renters from falling standards and rising rents. Protecting renters from unfair and unjust eviction by abolishing Section 21 no-fault eviction notices. Improving renters' ability to appeal excessive rent increases. Improving standards in the private sector by applying decent home standards to privately rented homes and applying Arab's law to protect renters from hazards like damp and mould. Introducing a private rented sector ombudsman to address complaints, as well as a PRS database, allowing tenants to make informed decisions about who they rent from and take action against road landlords when they become a problem. And banning landlords and agents from accepting offers above advertised rent, helping prospective renters on low incomes to secure tenancies on properties without having to end up excessively out of pocket for the privilege. These are common sense reforms to help protect and empower millions of people who rely on the private rented sector against high rents, poor quality homes and unscrupulous landlords. I welcome the introduction of these proposed reforms as a new Labour government continues to deliver for working people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The question 5, Councillor Young to Councillor Driscoll.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. How many firms were invited to tender, with the project currently being managed by City Centres Limited, and how many tenders were received?
Thank you, Councillor Young. City Centres have been procured to assist with the delivery of key projects to support our parking and our data collection programme of works. The Ealing Highways and Transport Framework was procured in 2021 through a competitive tendering process, and the recommendation to appoint contractors and suppliers was approved by Cabinet back in September 21. For the Highways Transport Framework, the tendering was carried out in 2 stages. The first stage was to ensure that the supplier met the quality criteria, and once they passed this, they were then invited to tender for the next stage, which included both technical questions and pricing. There were 5 suppliers that tendered for this lot. All tenders were assessed on both price and quality to ensure value for money and quality. City Centres is a specialist consultancy in parking and transport, renowned for delivering expert support in this field. City Centres were appointed as an approved sub-supplier by the Ealing Highways Transport Framework to support the development and implementation of our parking policy programme project, underpinned by comprehensive data collection and analysis. Thank you.
Any supplementary from the Conservative Group? Councillor Young.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If they are so expert, why did they get the names wrong on the CPCs in the consultation document?
I'm happy to have a chat about that with you. It's not a problem. I'm sure it's an awful lot of work producing all those documents, and I'm happy to have a chat with you about it.
Thank you. Question 6, Councillor Kingston to Councillor Nagpal.
Can the portfolio holder outline what support we're offering residents to help with the cost of living crisis?
Thank you, Councillor Kingston, for your question. The Council's cost of living team continues to coordinate and raise awareness of the support available to residents across the borough who are struggling with rising living costs. The Council's website has a dedicated cost of living section highlighting a whole range of help on offer, from financial support to free leisure activities. For those not online, we've invested in printed materials, and officers in the Council's contact centre and our community hubs are available to offer advice and guidance to those who need it. As part of this work, the cost of living team have undertaken several initiatives, including providing household support fund vouchers to low-income families ahead of the school holidays, and household support funding to 6 voluntary sector organisations, so additional help is available directly within communities. We have increased funding for local welfare assistance and expanded the eligibility criteria so more people can apply. The cost of living team have also been busy proactively writing to pensioners to encourage them to apply for pension credit and therefore benefit from the government winter fuel payment. So far, over 100 older residents have collectively gained 500,000 in unclaimed pension credit, averaging £4,200 per household per year. We also coordinate the borough-wide Warm and Welcome Spaces programme with support from over 20 community and faith organisations. We've co-developed a communications campaign with the borough's debt organisations to highlight where residents can go for help. We've developed a resource pack for professionals to outline the support available for asylum seekers and refugees. Christmas can be a difficult time for many families, which is why we are continuing with holiday activities and food programmes to provide free childcare to low-income families this Christmas. The summer scheme was attended by almost 3,000 young people and over 20,000 nutritious meals were served. We're also working to reduce digital exclusion, most recently through device donation, which resulted in over 500 devices being recycled, and they will be distributed to residents over the next year. Officers are also working alongside high schools to reduce period poverty. These are just some of the initiatives that are happening, and more is planned for 2025.
It's a supplementary question.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Does the portfolio holder share my view that it is an excellent idea that the Chancellor has increased the household support fund for another year?
The Household Support Fund has formed a vital element of the financial support that the Council has been able to provide to low-income families and our care leavers. It's excellent that we can continue to provide vouchers to low-income families and funding to 6 community and voluntary organisations in the borough. We're still awaiting confirmation of the Lee's allocation and the eligibility criteria for 2025-26. Officers are making plans based on the information that we have to ensure that we can continue to reach and have a positive impact on our most vulnerable residents.
Thank you. Lastly, question 7 from Grace at the back to Councillor Desby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In the light of the far-right riots that occurred across the UK this summer, can the portfolio holder explain how the council worked with partners to ensure our users felt safe and supported, and what steps have been taken to prevent such incidents from affecting our area in the future? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Ponce, for your question. Like all of us, I was really horrified by the scenes we saw in August. We saw disorder in parts of the country created by racist and anti-immigrant misinformation, extremists seeking to exploit the tragic murder of the 3 girls in Southport by pushing completely false narratives on social media. Madam Mayor, Ealing has a resilient community and a mature community safety partnership, and with the support of our community safety service, we've maintained regular and roaming contact with the police and other key partners. And intensive work was done to ensure accurate and factual information was shared with our staff, our residents, and our businesses. Madam Mayor, we were reassured by the knowledge. We had a standing permanent presence of public order, trained officers and police intelligence officers actively identifying and dealing with online misinformation. We had a high visibility reassurance by police officers in the locality of faith venues across the borough. Specific visits were undertaken to all 9 of our mosques by our police faith, lead and safer neighbourhood teams. And there were increased observations around University of West London Given the number of young people from different parts of the UK who attend Ealing campus and may have been affected by the issues. Across Ealing and London, communities came out with a unified voice to make it clear there was no place for racism and violence here. I was so proud of the resilience, courage, and steadfastness shown by the Ealing community during those troubling days, and of the work done by the council and our partners. Madam Mayor, I know all members will join in paying tribute to them and condemning the racist violence restored.
Is there a supplementary question from the Labour group?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Can the portfolio holder provide an update on how the Independence Day celebration was managed this year, and whether our communities felt safe and supported during the events?
Thank you, Councillor Hammond, for your supplementary question. Of course, shortly after those horrendous events, Madam Mayor, communities in Southall came together, as they do every year, to celebrate Pakistani Independence Day, Indian Independence Day, and Afghanistan Independence Day. All of these days historically see some public celebrations in Southall, and although the activities that happen on these days are organised, and they're not licensed events, so they are celebrations the council and the police have a commitment to making sure that they are as safe as possible. Madam Mayor, I'm pleased to say 2024 saw some significant overall improvements around the approach taken by the police and the council in managing the semi-spontaneous celebrations, which included partnership pre-planning and specific roles given to police and council services, community engagement and agreed joint patrols, including community marshals supporting police on the ground, traffic management and enforcement with the support of the Met Traffic Unit. Madam Mayor, council services including the CCTV, street cleaning, street training and parking services all provided additional resources on the 3 days to support the plan. Communications also went out, shared by police and the council, marking the Independent Days, providing some reassurance about the extra presence and reminding residents about the likelihood of some traffic disruption. Madam Mayor, the celebrations this year were again a tribute to Southall's diversity, cohesion and vibrancy. And I'd like to say a special thank you to our community safety team who made it happen, who brought us all together.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone for keeping to time. We're now on to the opposition business. Now, I know in recent years we've had a new way of doing this, but if you think you had put your name down with your whip, please, if you feel that you've not been called, put your hand up, so I don't overlook you. Okay, we have the mover, Councillor Conti, to go first.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I rise to move the motion in my name. For an administration that is always claiming to listen to residents, and as you wrote in the manifesto, to be open, transparent and inclusive, I can't think of consultations that are less representative of those values. The consultations weren't open, written in such a way that there was no yes/no option. How can you have a consultation that doesn't give evidence a clear way to object? I understand Councillor Driscoll's response to my question on this. At every consultation on CPZ implementation that has gone in the past, that was acceptable. Suddenly now, that isn't the right way to ask the question. Is that because you do not want to hear objections from residents? The consultations weren't transparent. Both the consultation for extending CPZ hours operation and for the new zones in Greenwood talk about the parking pressure surveys. But where are these documents? Again, Councillor Driscoll, you mentioned that the leaflet talks about those figures. Well, yes, the headline figures are shown in the Greenwood consultation page on the website, but not the details. And for the extended hours operation, there's no figures at all. I asked the council, where are they? They're not on the website. I asked council officers, but they didn't have them. And it was only when they wrote to city senates that they then passed them on to me, and so they would only publish them after the consultation is closed. But why is that? Is that because it shows, for example, in Greenford Town, occupancy data only peaks at 60% at weekends, and in fact, that's between midnight and 3 AM. That's not when the CPZs are even going to be operational. And what about in Ealing, where you're extending them? Well, in Zone W, that affects Ealing, Broadway and Hanger Hill, it peaks at 36% occupancy, or in the Hanger Hill Garden Estate at 52%. If you really wanted to be transparent, you'd ensure that residents had all that data to make an informed choice. As an administration, you chose not to do that. Were the consultations inclusive? Well, from the people outside this evening, or the residents' meetings, or residents who've spoken here today, you haven't empowered them, you haven't brought them with you. Again, Councillor Driscoll, you mentioned about the statutory consultation that will come after this, but that's a 21-day traffic order. You mentioned that would present options, but a traffic order doesn't present options. That shows you what the final proposal is going to be. So this really is the opportunity to really listen to residents. And again, we did not give them the ability to say no to the changes that are being proposed. These proposals will disproportionately impact the elderly and families with children. A resident just today who lives in Tudor Gardens in Hang Hill wrote to me, he's in his 80s, and he's worried that people will not be able to come and visit him, and he won't be able to give them the list of vouchers that they're needed. And he's really concerned, and he didn't feel that this was a fair consultation to represent his views. And what about local small businesses who are concerned about the impact that these changes will have on them? Now, we don't disagree with the Lib Dem amendment. Proposals should only have gone forward in areas where residents clearly expressed a wish to either see the hours extended or for these new zones to be introduced. Now, these changes are clear anti-car measures, with the only real purpose being income generation for the council. Whilst nationally Labour will take away winter fuel payments from the elderly, locally Labour plans to introduce a new way to scale taxes on residents. That's why the consultation has been phrased in the way they have been. That's why residents haven't been given a choice. Do the right thing, halt the process, listen to residents, and give them a real choice.
Seconder.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, I think that you, like myself, have got to that point in life when, although not ready for a blue badge, we do find mobility a challenge. We can still walk to the shops, but walking back with the shopping is a little bit more difficult. We've come to appreciate strategically placed public benches en route. The other day, I received the following email. Dear Councillor Young, and they're very polite for the residents seeing you. Dear Councillor Young, I was shocked on the receipt of a leaflet from the council regarding the controlled parking review. I have lived in my home for over 50 years. We have no non-residents parking here. We do not have a problem. We have 2 periods during which are restricted to non-permit holders. I already pay £177 a year for the privilege of parking outside my house. I'm a widow who is 76 years old. I live alone. I have visitors of a similar age, but only during the day. We no longer drive at night. I simply cannot afford or ask my visitors to pay for the privilege of visiting me. My social life will be even more restricted. I feel this is just a method of raising revenue for the council. I also think this is a formality. The council will do as they wish, regardless of our views. I hope you'll be able to support the residents in their opposition to any change of ours. And since then I have received many similar emails. The introduction of day-long parking controls will disproportionately impact the elderly and infirm, and any supposed benefits from forcing people out of their cars will not benefit them. Another email said increasing the hours of CPZ will push many more older people into isolation and poorer health because they can no longer drive to events, activity groups, social gatherings, and so on, not to mention keeping doctors and dental appointments. The changes will also impact on carers and on women in particular, of all ages, trying to get around in the dark. One of the common themes in all the emails is the lack of trust in the Labour Council. This is not helped by the evident bias and glaring mistakes in the consultation document. Nowhere in the document is there a simple yes or no option allowing residents to reject all-day restrictions. Nowhere in that document is there any mention of days of operation. Are they to be 5 days, 6 days, or even 7 days a week, as it is in Zone A? Nowhere in that document is there an option to retain the status quo. It says that recent parking pressure surveys have shown that there is significant parking pressure on many of the roads. Yet we know that this is untrue, certainly in my ward, as I've seen the raw figures. This motion is about recognising the hardship that all-day parking restrictions would cause. I would say to the Labour Cabinet, don't make people suffer for your beliefs. Take a second.
Right. have the move for the amendment first?
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I just said we accept the amendment from the attendants.
Let's be fair. Let's be fair. You say that's not being fair, so let's just be fair. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Controlled parking zones were introduced to protect residents' parking spaces and restrict non-residents to take these up. These measures are very effective, especially on roads close to tube and train stations. I live myself on such a road, which has got 3-hour restrictions and it prevents people to park there taking the tube into London. It works perfectly well. There are absolutely no issues. There are always a lot of parking spaces available. So I was quite surprised to get this consultation, which gave me only 2 pre-formulated options of extending the restrictions for the whole day, either 8 to 8 or 8 to 6. The option no change needed wasn't given. There was only an other, which one can write in answers if one knows how to do that, and that this is actually an option in questionnaires. First of all, why the change to all these restrictions anyway? I hear to make it easier for traffic wardens to enforce restrictions. They don't have to think which street, which hour. But these restrictions are for residents, not the traffic wardens. And if restrictions work as they are, there should be really no need to push for extended hours. So the consultation questionnaire needed to make the option of keeping the status quo explicit, and it did not. Having worked in market research for years myself, I know full well that not offering this as a pre-written option will skew the results. It looks like there are only 2 options, so these will kind of get people as choice. The number who realize they can put other options will be, of course, much fewer. So the outcome is unfairly skewed and towards restriction. So the request is to rerun the consultation when we have got votes for an increased extension, to make the no change option explicit as a tick box exercise like the restrictions. Consultations need to be as objective as possible, fairly balanced, so we can build trust with our residents into these consultations. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, before I address the motion, I hope Council will indulge me in thanking the voters of Hang Hill for electing me as their council. It's a great privilege. I'd also like to take the opportunity to congratulate Councillor Douglas and Councillor Moffat on their election victories. Well done, both. Turning to the motion, let me say at the outset that I agree with the policy of promoting active and sustainable travel. I walk and I cycle, and I encourage my children to do the same. A more active lifestyle is, I think, unambiguously good for our communities, for the environment, for the general health and well-being of everyone. However, proposals to introduce the new CPZs and to extend CPZ hours in Ealing and Acton is not, I believe, the way forward. These proposals make car drivers the enemy and ignore the fact that cars are still essential to the lives of many residents, and I include myself in that. Take families, for example. Shuttling kids between school, sporting fixtures and clubs would be very much more difficult. These proposals would have the perverse effect of discouraging after-school activities, which typically start before the proposed CPZ hours. Older and less mobile people often sustain active lives by using cars, and you heard that from one of the other councillors. Councillor Young, to get around the borough. These proposals would restrict their lives too. There would also be a very substantial negative impact on businesses, particularly small high street shops that are already struggling. Many people whose livelihoods rely on travelling to workplaces locally, and some of them are outside the building, including teachers, shop workers and tradespeople, would be negatively affected. In summary, these proposals are likely to suppress economic activity within the borough, which is an odd thing for the Labour group to be different and are anti-growth. I urge councillors, particularly Labour councillors in affected areas, to support the motion as amended. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I think this is your second maiden speech in a very long time. There's an intervening few years. Over to Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. CPZs are never easy to do and are always controversial. I'm sure the Conservatives, when they were in the leadership of the council, found that when they were introducing around about 20 CPZs that were either new or extended at the time, and even piloting and championing shared bays. So I think there's a little bit of memory lapse there. Yes, there is an option, there's a free-form text option, which will allow for a fuller discussion and a fuller piece of information. For example, in Greenford, where there's a petition for a CPZ, they could actually say, we want it in our roads, we could understand it's not desired in other further reaches of the proposed consultation area, which is absolutely fine to receive, because you don't get that in a yes-no answer. So these are allowed to be more inclusive and more expansive and more detailed contributions, which are always helpful when getting a fuller picture of what residents want. I'd like to remind those who've contributed to the debate that there's a huge range of permits that are available for business, traders, for paid carers, professional carers, and also non-professional carers as well. And the carers permits are £10 for 12 months. So that is already in place. Blue badge users can get a free permit for their registered car in their home CPZ. They can use other CPZs. So that's already in place. CPZs are controversial, yes. However, we have a duty to make sure that congestion and people think about their car use is undertaken carefully. Over 11% of our car use in the borough is for 1 kilometre or less. And about a third of it is 2 kilometres. And we're doing huge strides to actually improve active travel, not just by talking about it, by having road improvement schemes in all parts of the borough and substantial investment in road schemes to make walking and cycling safer and easier. And CPZs are a positive contribution to safety. So where they're introduced, and Councillor Conti might know this, because there's one that was consulted upon in the ward where he was representing and implemented when I was elected there. And a repeated contribution from residents was, I didn't realise how dangerous it was in the local area because of inconsiderate and obstructed parking. So CPZs are a positive improvement on walking for those that need mobility aids, for young families, for children. They are a positive impact on safety in the area. So there's no preset discussion on this, no preset decision on this. We'll receive the contributions, we'll receive the consultations, we'll see what that shows, and we'll take it forward to that statutory consultation as well. And the plans and proposals will change because we'll be reacting to what we receive. So absolutely for the residents to contribute and absolutely for the residents to engage, and I welcome those contributions. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Facchierini.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Fabio, your motion makes me wonder if we are living in the same world. You talk about controlled parking zones like they are some evil plot to ruin lives. But let me tell you, residents in the Draytons near West Ealing Station in my ward would happily disagree, as they are now enjoying an extended CPZ that has completely transformed the area after suffering from commuters and holidaymakers parking in their streets for days on end. Pitanglewood councillors and council officers listened to their concerns through a thorough consultation process, and as a result, residents now have spaces available when they need them, and emergency services can access the streets without issues. They are so thrilled that they even wanted the CPZ to run on Sundays. Yes, Sundays, because they've seen firsthand how well it works. They'd probably even invite you over to see just how much better things are now. But don't forget to buy a visitor's permit first, you know, just in case. Now let's turn to Hanging Hill Ward, Councillor Fabio. A few years ago, residents in your ward, in my street, were dealing with similar problems. A clogged street, blocked driveways, and emergency vehicles struggling to get through. What did your Conservative predecessors do? Absolutely nothing. In fact, their only advice to these residents was to find alternative parking somewhere else. So let me ask you, Councillor Fabio, where was all this passion and concern for residents back then? Why weren't you or your predecessors addressing these issues when they were affecting your ward? Councillor Fabio, the truth is that CPZs, like the one in the Drayton's work. They prioritize the needs of residents, not commuters, not people from outside the area. Through consultations, the council listened and took action, making streets safer, more accessible and less congested. So, instead of opposing these measures, I'd encourage you and your Lib Dem friends to see them for what they are, practical and positive solutions to problems that have gone far too long. Finally, if you really care about your residents, it's time to park your opposition and drive towards solutions. Thank you.
Councillor Douglas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. CPZs are not anti-car, as this motion claims. The idea that they are discriminatory is almost laughable. We have almost 50 CPZs in this borough. I'm sure it's a feature that many of us in this chamber benefit from every single day when we park outside our homes. Recognising this now is nothing more than scaremongering. Residents deserve a fair and honest process that isn't clouded by misinformation. The point of these proposals is to ensure that parking for local residents is prioritised. This benefits those who accuse us of discriminating against the most. It ensures that elderly people and those with mobility challenges can park close to their homes. And it's also important to remember that those with blue badges won't pay for parking permits regardless. But of course, this is an engagement process. Residents are free to share their views and have done so. My fellow colleagues and I have already received feedback from residents, and it has been overwhelmingly positive. The extension of CPZ hours will ensure they no longer struggle to find space on a street that they clearly park on. The motion also comes to the somewhat bizarre conclusion that if residents support the proposal, we should run the entire process again. I think rerunning democratic processes that will get the result the opposition desires may not be the best use of council staff time. We should also think of the benefits beyond simply parking on your street. Air pollution is a real proven effect on the most vulnerable people in our borough. Of course, many car journeys are essential, but there are many that are not. 1 in 3 car journeys at Ealing are less than 1.2 miles long. That's just simply not sustainable. CPZs are an essential part of our wider strategy to help reduce the impact of air pollution. They encourage more people to walk, cycle, and use public transport, and ensure the roads are safer for those who need to drive. To quote the motion, an introduction/extension should only happen in areas where residents clearly express this need for this change. In accordance with council policy, this needs to be established through a consultation, which is supposed to gather comprehensive and objective feedback from residents. Thankfully, this is exactly what we're doing. I look forward to seeing the results of the process, especially in my own ward, and hopefully, with the backing of local people, the implementation of the proposals.
Thank you. Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wonder if the council could tell me what unites the wards of Southfield, Hanger Hill, Ealing Common and Ealing Broadway. Almost universal coverage of controlled parking zones in all 4 of those wards. What is also the thing that unites those 4 wards? Well, they're represented by the 2 opposition parties who have come here today, unfortunately, rather than engage in the spirit of the open consultation.
Can you behave, please? I don't want to have to put you out, so put you in the corner. Behave, please.
I mean, they can shunter all they like, but the reality is 100% of the residents of Southfield enjoy the reality of having a controlled parking zone to help regulate the poor decisions by some drivers to make the lives of the residents of those wards a living misery. That is exactly the same protections that we want to extend to the residents of this borough who want those protections. We do not see the opposition parties, including the ones that have been chuntering, moving motions to remove the controlled parking zones from their own wards. And I won't accept their arguments that somehow that this is a crime against the people of Ealing unless they are willing to do precisely that. Because the reality is, this is an open consultation. We set out very clearly in the Travel in Ealing Charter, learning from our own mistakes, that we would do precisely what residents want us to do, which is talk to them, engage with them, listen to them about the changes that they want to see happen on their roads. And after that engagement process, we'll come forward with proposals that make sense. The reality of controlled parking zones is that while they're of course controversial, because they speak to people's fears of losing independence and control over those neighbourhoods, they are highly, highly contested things. And as many of the times as we have people come to us with petitions against the implementation of controlled parking zones, every councillor knows, including the opposition parties, because they've been through that process themselves, we all have residents come forward with petitions to implement controlled parking zones. The deal that we do as a council is to make sure that we do that in a fair, open, transparent, and inclusive way. And that is exactly what we are trying to do in Greenford. If areas in that consultation zone want CPZ, we'll try and make it happen. If areas don't, it's not. Madam Mayor, can we please,